Welcome to List Of, the channel that dives deep into the enigmatic, the unexplained, and the downright odd. Today we're talking about people who, well, vanished. Poof, gone. Like a magician's trick, but with a lot less glitter and a lot more unanswered questions. History is littered with tantalizing mysteries, and perhaps none are as compelling as those involving individuals who simply disappeared. We're not talking about a bad day at the office where you can't find your stapler. We're talking about a complete and utter erasure from existence. Let's start with a classic. Amelia Earhart, the pioneering aviator, a true legend of the skies. In 1937, she set out to circumnavigate the globe, a feat unheard of for a woman at the time. With her navigator, Fred Noonan, she took off from Lae, New Guinea, aiming for Howland Island. And then, nothing. Radio transmissions ceased. The search was extensive, a massive undertaking, but Amelia and her Lockheed Electra vanished somewhere over the vast Pacific Ocean. Was it a crash? Did they land on a remote island? Did they find aliens? Okay, probably not the last one. But a girl can dream, right? The enduring mystery of Amelia Earhart's fate continues to fuel speculation and inspire adventurers. Speaking of great escapes, let's talk about D.B. Cooper. This one's got a bit more flair. In 1971, a man calling himself Dan Cooper boarded a Boeing 727 in Portland, Oregon. He was impeccably dressed, polite even, but he had a surprise up his sleeve, or rather, a bomb in his briefcase. He hijacked the plane, extorted $200,000 in ransom. That's about $1.3 million today, folks. Not a bad day's work for some. And then, mid-flight, he parachuted out over the rugged Pacific Northwest. And that, my friends, was the last anyone ever saw of D.B. Cooper. Despite extensive investigations and the discovery of some of the ransom money, his true identity and fate remain unknown. Talk about a disappearing act. Now, for a disappearance that involves a touch of organized confusion. Jimmy Hoffa, the former Teamsters president, was a powerful and controversial figure. He was last seen in 1975, leaving a restaurant in suburban Detroit, supposedly to meet with mafia figures. And then, he was gone, vanished into thin air. The search for Hoffa has been one of the most extensive and persistent in American history, involving countless leads, accusations, and even some alleged burial sites. But the legendary labor leader has never been found. It's a case that still haunts the criminal underworld and the public imagination. Sometimes disappearances are a little more theatrical. Agatha Christie, the queen of crime herself, once vanished for 11 days in 1926. Now, this wasn't a sinister plot or a daring escape. She disappeared from her home, leaving her car abandoned. The country was in a frenzy, and a massive search was launched. She was eventually found at a spa hotel, seemingly without memory of the preceding days. The exact reason for her disappearance remains debated. Stress from her husband's affair? A psychological breakdown? Either way, it was a real-life mystery penned by the master of mystery. Talk about meta. From the skies to the seas, and even the concert halls, the void of disappearance beckons. In 1944, during World War II, bandleader Glenn Miller was flying from England to Paris to entertain troops. His plane, a single-engine UC-64 Norseman, disappeared over the English Channel. No wreckage was ever found. Speculation ranges from it being shot down by friendly fire to simply succumbing to the harsh winter weather. A musical genius, silenced by the fog of war. And then there was the writer who embraced the unknown. Ambrose Bierce, a sharp-witted satirist and journalist, famously traveled to Mexico in 1913 during the Mexican Revolution. He intended to observe the conflict and then, by his own account, to see what was going on, and in my own peculiar way, to help. He was last heard from in December of that year. His fate? Utterly unknown. Some say he was killed in battle, others that he simply faded into the revolutionary landscape. A man who made a living dissecting the world, only to become one of its most profound enigmas. In the realm of politics, the sea has claimed its share of figures. Australian Prime Minister Harold Holt went for a swim off the coast of Victoria in 1967 and never returned. The conditions were rough, the currents treacherous. Despite an extensive search, his body was never recovered. His disappearance sent shockwaves through Australia, marking the end of a prominent political career and leaving a lingering sense of loss. And finally, the daring explorer who ventured into the frozen north and never came back. Roald Amundsen, the first person to reach the South Pole, disappeared in 1928 while attempting a rescue mission. He was part of a flight to search for survivors of another airship expedition. His plane, a Dornier Wall flying boat, vanished a few miles from Bear Island in the Arctic Ocean. The search was called off after several weeks, leaving Amundsen, the man who conquered both poles, to become a permanent resident of the Arctic mystery. From daring aviators to cunning criminals, from literary geniuses to political leaders, the list of those who vanished without a trace is a stark reminder of how quickly lives can become footnotes in history. These stories continue to fascinate us, to ignite our imaginations, and to remind us that sometimes the biggest questions are the ones with no answers. What do you think happened to these famous figures? Let us know your theories in the comments below. If you enjoyed this dive into the unexplained, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to List of for more captivating content. We'll see you next time.